Hey y'all, it's Brijin the Museum Stitcher. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you find something you like. This is my little corner of the internet where I talk about my crafting life, mostly cross stitch. Today I also have some books to share, but I hope you find something you like. So if you're interested in crafts or books or both, this is definitely the space for you. And for those of you who are returning, welcome back. Today is March 10th of 2023, and this is Flosstube number 20. I cannot believe I've done this 20 times. It is absolutely nuts, and I can't believe this is where I am. 3 days before I turn 25. So anyway, it is a wild time. Today I've got some stitching to share with you, a little bit of a life update because oh my gosh, I actually went out and did things. Who am I? It's like I have like fun things I went and did to tell you about. Crazy. And then I have some haul and some plans to discuss and a whole bunch of books, like I said. So I hope you guys enjoy, that you stick around. I wanted to start off today's video with a little bit of a life update. Like I said, I actually did cool things. And the cool things are part of the reason why my stitching isn't as much as I normally stitch, just because I did the math and I realized over the last 2 weeks, since I filmed, I have not had a single weekend stitching day, which is wild, and it means I lost a lot of stitching progress because usually on the weekends I probably stitch for anywhere from like 10 hours to 12 hours because Sunday afternoons in my house are really chill. We just watch TV and I get stitchy time, and Saturday nights I usually stitch as well. And I actually went out of town. My mom and I took a small weekend road trip to Austin overnight, and so I was gone for the entire day of Saturday and the entire day of Sunday, and I can't stitch in the car for whatever reason. Unless it's Ada, I can't do it, and none of my current whips are on Ada, so that was a bit of a struggle. But it was a good trip. My little brother lives in Austin, and he was in one of his friend's senior thesis musicals at the University of Texas, and it was great to see him in that. He did a fantastic job, and it was really cool to just, you know, when you see your siblings in their element or like your family members, it's really cool to see. So that was fun, but that was a whole weekend gone. And then this most recent weekend, my little brother came up to my side of town. So he came from Austin to Fort Worth, and I will insert a picture here, but we went to go see the comedian Taylor Tomlinson playing in Dallas. And this was actually my Christmas present to my brother, and as well as a birthday present because he's a January baby. So I combined both birthday and Christmas and got us tickets for the two of us, just a siblings trip to go see her. Because my little brother is also a stand-up comedian and he loves going to see stand-up, and Taylor Tomlinson is a comedian that we both love. She's got a few specials on Netflix, but in person, she killed. It was so funny. It was so good, and we are definitely going to go see her again if she comes through on any other tours. Like, I'm a groupie. I'm obsessed with her, and I can't wait to see her again. She did a fantastic job, and it was a really, really good time. It was, you know, it's nice when you're both adults to get to like spend time just the two of you together. It doesn't happen often, especially when we live in different cities. And it was just, yeah, it was a fun sibling night. So that happened. So that was Friday night. Saturday night, my bonus sister brought her new boyfriend over to the house to meet the family. So I had to, you know, be personable and play games, and couldn't stitch for that either. So lost Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday I probably only stitched for about 2 hours. So that being said, all of my stitching was done after my 9-to-5 job. In the evenings, as well as, you know, getting other like life things done. So it's not as much stitching as normal, but it is what it is. So I figured to kind of beef up this week's episode, what I would do is actually run you through my market picks. I know you guys are probably sick and tired of seeing all of the same patterns talked about, but I do have specific reasons as to why I bought every pattern that I bought, and I thought it would just be kind of fun to go through. I don't know. My market patterns are on their way to me from the Top Knot Stitcher, but they have not arrived yet. So anyway, so that was really fun. Also, last Saturday, an exciting news and plans before we get into the actual stitching I did. I took my friend Hannah of Hannah's Horror Corner on Instagram. She reads spooky books, and if you like that and you like also a pink cottagecore vibe, she's your girl. But she just recently got into cross stitching through me, and I took her to our LNS for her very first in-person cross stitch shopping experience. She got to oogle over the models. She got to pick out and kit up a pattern with the fabric and the floss there, and she even made some of her own changes. It was super fun to get to like show her what an LNS is. So we went to the Stitch Niche, and while we were there, I ended up kitting up my birthday start. So I've talked about this on my last video, but if you're new, you might not know. But March 13th is my birthday, which is this upcoming Monday. And I am hosting a SAL, start along, stitch along. You can work on a new start or a whip or whatever. But basically for my birthday, all I want is for you to stitch on a pattern that has something that starts with B in it. It can be the designer's name or the pattern name, but gotta start with B. So for me, it's the Blue Flower is the designer of the piece I'm working on, and I am stitching Night Walked Down. And it is so beautiful. So while I was at my LNS with my friend, she kitted up Berry Patch by Liz Matthews, and I kitted up Night Walked Down. So I got all of the called for Gentle Arts. Look at these flosses. I did have to make 2 substitutions. Because one of the called for was Gentle Arts Seaweed, and that is a limited edition color. So I chose instead Gentle Arts Blue Spruce. I feel like it matched kind of the called for DMCs rather well. And then the other change that I made is instead of Gentle Arts Cinders for the black, I went with Gentle Arts Black Licorice because they did not have cinders. Other than that, it is all called for flosses. And I originally was going to stitch this on a piece of custom dyed fabric that I ordered from Be Stitch Me a few months ago, but unfortunately that won't be here in time, so I had to resort to a backup, and I went into my stash and I pulled this piece of Fortnite Fabrics Elegant. It is a 40 count that I got from the Top Knot Stitcher, and it is this beautiful gray, purple, mauve. Anyway, I think with all of the flosses, it looks great. With the vibe of the pattern, it looks great, and I'm actually really, really happy with it. I think it is gonna be a great one. So I will be starting this on my birthday, March 13th. And if you'd like to join me stitching Night Walk Down or anything else, you can use the hashtag Brijin's Birthday Bash Sal. I included as many words that started with the letter B as possible, since that was the motive of the Sal. But anyway, I will be sharing that on Instagram, and I hope you join me. But I had a super fun time going to my LNS to kit that up with my friend. I know she had a really, really good time getting to walk around and see things. We probably spent about an hour and a half in there, which is wild. So yeah, that was a good time, and that is a major plan that's coming up. I may or may not be going live on YouTube here on my birthday, just to like stitch for a little bit and say hi, but I have not fully decided yet, so we'll see. Okay, so actually into what I've been working on instead of plans. The first project that I started to work on is a new stitch along, and I have this in a ginormous bag from the Fat Quarter Shop. It's the Denim and Daisies bag, and the reason I love it is this gigantic box of bobbins fits in the bag. So this is my full coverage. This is a stitch along hosted by my friend Marjorie and her friend Hannah. I will have both of their channels linked down below. But Marjorie and I are in a group chat together, and Marjorie kept talking about how much fun it was to stitch full coverage and how beautiful her full coverage was, which it is. That freaking lady sitting at a desk painting things, so freaking pretty. And I was like, you know what? Fine, you got me. So here I am, a self-proclaimed would never do a full coverage stitcher, starting a full coverage. So I figured I would ease myself into it a little bit. So I grabbed a mini one, and this is the one I've chosen. This is Mini the Library by Heaven and Earth Designs. So it's a mini Hade, so it is not huge, which works to my advantage here. And I am stitching mine on a 28 count easy grid Lugana, tent stitch 2/1. So I'm just making a half cross. And I got a good bit of progress in on this one. And I might talk about this for a hot minute here, but this is where I made it to. I worked on this for 2 days. Oh, and the name of the hashtag is the Rip My Whips Sal, which is so fun because true, working on a full coverage will just tank your stitchy time. But I'm going to pull up my stats here because I have this new app called Markup. It is basically the Apple version of Pattern Keeper, and it is fantastic. I know it's been a buggy app in the past, but they have revamped it and it works fantastic. I am sold, especially getting to like import patterns that aren't full coverages. It gives me percentages done. It allows me to stitch an entire motif, even if the motif spans several page breaks, which is I'm a big fan. So you can see this little chunk that I've done here, and all of my parked threads. This is 1.4% complete. I have done 12,000 stitches and I still have 87,221 to go. But for 2 days of stitching, 1,200 stitches is not bad. So I am doing Royal Rose method, which is what Marjorie does. And unfortunately, there's not great videos online on how to do this. I mostly just kind of heard Marjorie talking about it and then just asked her questions as I had issues. But essentially what you do is you work in a 10 wide by 20 long grid, and you fill in that entire grid, and then you work horizontally. And then as you're working, you park threads underneath that block for you to pick up and stitch the next block with. So essentially everything you park is being stitched in a column as you work across. So you might have like 6 or 7 of the same color parked on the project at once, because if it's used in this column, I park it here. If it's used at this column, I park it here. And I think what I've decided is that this method is going to be fantastic once I finish the top row, because essentially what I'm having to do is start all the threads on this first row. And once I get down here with all of these parked ones, I can move a little faster. So you can see I've got a few parked to the side. That's what you do if it's not used again in the next, they call them dungeons, where you park all your threads. But I have stitched, 5 towers, 6 towers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 6 towers. And you can kind of see a window start to take shape here. And then I just twist all of my parked threads that are in that one column. So this is all one dungeon's worth of parked threads, and I'm taking care of it that way. What's exciting about this full coverage is that the entire width of the piece will fit in the bounds of this Q-snap, so I won't ever have to move the Q-snap horizontally. I'll just have to move it vertically when I get down there. But as you can see, having worked for about 8 hours on this, this is where we're at. So it's gonna take a hot minute for me to fill this Q-snap, but this is now my full coverage Q-snap. It is dedicated to this project. This project will live in here for forever. So far this method is working great for me. I'm having a good time. I never thought I'd say that, but I am. And I can't wait to see how this one finishes out. So that is the Rip My Whip SAL. If you're interested in joining the parameters or just starting a full coverage, or working on a full coverage if you've already got one in your whip pile. But the other really exciting thing about my full coverage is the way that I've stored my flosses. So this right here is all the floss for this one project. Like I said, it is a mini Haid, but I did choose to do the max colors version. So there's 124 colors of DMC for this one singular project. So I have mine fully bobbinated onto, you can't see, but onto my Adam Hart floss drop bobbins. So I have the number and the symbol written out. I have pretty good handwriting, I'm not gonna lie, so it's fine. And then you can unwind the bobbin and it is a floss drop. So then I can just grab my strand, wrap this back up and keep going. And it has made stitching the full coverage super easy. These bobbins, I know I'm beating a dead horse when I talk about them because I literally talk about them all the time. They're so good. And especially for this full coverage, I needed to buy 2 bags, but each bag's only $38 and you get 100. So they're less than, less than 50 cents a piece? I think they're like 37 cents a piece when you do them that way. But I know I get a lot of questions about how I close off my threads. So once I've wound it up almost all the way, I'll just take this and tuck it. You can kind of see the slit here. I'll just tuck the end into the slit, hold it in the back like that, and then file it into my box. So there's a little bit of a tail, but I kind of got lucky, and this project, all of the flosses fit without rattling or needing to be supported. And then I can just snap this shut and throw this in my bag, and all of my flosses are together and organized for the project. So I think I've kind of figured it out. I'm really enjoying myself so far. I didn't think I would be, but here I am. Okay, so let's get into whips. So I worked on 2 different whips in the last 2 weeks. Like I said, it was a light stitchy week for me, and honestly, I focused most of my energy on one project and then worked for 1 day on a different one. So like I said, 2 days on that one, and I probably did about 4 days on this next one. But this next one is also a stitch along. This is words. This is Oh Joyous Day by Blackbird Designs, and I am starting this along with my friends Katie, the novel stitcher, and Sarah of Sarah's Stitchy Spot. And there's been a few other people join, which is really fun. I was super inspired to start this piece after seeing Lauren, New Hampshire Stitcher, here on Flosstube and also on Instagram. Her finish of it was so good. I had to start it. And it is so light and springy and fun, and I've just been really enjoying it. Also, side note on the bangs here today, I am growing out my bangs into curtain bangs, so we're gonna go on a hair growth journey together. So I apologize if they look crazy over the next several months. It's just where we're at. So I have a picture of where I was on this one after I showed it to you in my last video. This was a relatively new start, and I got a lot done on this one. I just could not stop stitching it. So I am doing mine on a 40 count Nessie linen by Picture This Plus, which is this gorgeous blue. And you can tell that actually, since I saw you last, what I just had, I think this flower done, this little side border, and I started in on this flower. So I finished out the whole rest of the row and did the top satin stitch border, which is just like back stitches in triangles. But there are some Algerian eyelets, some satin stitches, and some Smyrna crosses, my first time doing Smyrna crosses. So if you're someone who's looking to ease into specialty stitches, this is a really, really beginner friendly one to do. I thoroughly am enjoying myself because this has like springtime vibes without being overly Eastery. And so it's just bright and happy. And with the gross weather we get in Texas in February, this has been an amazing stitch. I'm just telling you now, if you ever try to come to Texas in February, you have made a poor decision. We always get ice. It's always gross. We even had tornado watches and warnings last week. I mean, it's bad weather, and you'll find out the hard way sometimes if you come here in February and you get iced in, because we can't handle ice. So it's not just like you get ice. It's like you get ice, but you get ice with people who are crazy and can't handle it, which is dangerous. So just don't come to Texas in February. Okay. So anyway, I did a lot on this. This little pear was super fun, and there's Smyrna crosses on the stem, and my cat is playing with a loud toy. But yeah, so this is the hashtag Joyous Day SAL. If you're interested in joining us, it's just a start along, no hard deadlines, but I am kind of coming through it pretty fast. And I have to say, it is so satisfying when your entire design fits within your Q-snap, especially when you're doing a satin stitch border. It's just so nice. So if you do this on 40 count, you can get it in an 11 by 11 Q-snap. It's tight on the sides, but it works. And this needle minder is Roses from Mad for Minders. It is so pretty and so functional, and I just love it. Speaking of the Adam Hart floss bobbins, I have those on here as well, and I have them in my Tiger Lily Designs Project Keeper. It's got a zipper pocket on one side and bobbin pockets on the other. And let me see. I started this on February 23rd, so not too long ago. Okay. Then on a whim, because I wanted a little bit more to talk about today, I decided to pull out one more project, and this is something that I have not been able to put down, unfortunately. And this is Love Gains by Modern Folk Embroidery. I have talked about this for a while. It is just one of those stitches that is so easy. I have such a hard time putting it down, and I have such a hard time not reaching for it when it is like a day that I just don't want to have to focus on anything too hard. So I've imported this pattern into the markup app, and it is working fantastically. And I will show you a picture of where I was the last time. I showed this to you in my last video. I thought I was gonna put it away and not work on it, and then I ended up pulling it back out because I just couldn't handle not working on it. So I started this on May 14th of 2022. And at the beginning of the new year, I had not worked on this basically at all. But since my last video, this is what she now looks like. And guess who wised up and got a design board to talk about projects with? Me. So this is on a 28 count Stay with the High Lord even weave from Fangirl Fibers, which I got in my A Cord of Thorns and Roses fabric club last year. And it is the most gorgeous, like warm toned orchid. And the floss that I'm using for this monochromatic Quaker is Salem Light by Color and Cotton, which is a really pretty deep black purple with some gray. And Lindsay, since you saw this last, I had finished this motif and I had started on this one. So I finished these 3 motifs, and with that, this is officially the bottom of the pattern. So this is the full height of the pattern. And I think I have decided that I am going to try and work on one of these little half Quaker medallions every week until it's finished. I am currently with this, and the markup app now tells me stats. Let's see, I stitched about 2,000 stitches on this. No, 1,000 stitches? I've forgotten how many stitches. But I stitched some stitches of these 3 motifs, and I am now at 48.4% complete with the major medallions. I have not included, there is an over 1 verse here that I will be recharting to be a quote from A Cord of Thorns and Roses, for no other reason than that this fabric was part of an A Cord of Thorns and Roses fabric club. And that seemed like a good enough reason for me. So I still have not charted that quote or chosen it yet, so that will take a minute. But once that happens, that will be done. So I'm trying to finish out the medallions on this, and because it's 28 count, it's absolutely huge and it's eating floss like crazy. I have officially gone through 2 full skeins of floss, and I'm on my 3rd, probably about halfway through with my 3rd. But for being almost halfway done with the pattern, I'm feeling pretty good about that. But yeah, I can't put it down. It's just too fun and it's too easy. And there is no hashtags or sals for this one, but my friend Megan did pick it up, so you might be seeing this on her channel as well. And yeah, it's too good. It's too good. So yeah, A Cord of Thorns and Roses, I have my Valaris needle minder on there from, I believe I got this from, let's see, where did I get that from? I think I also got that from Fangirl Fibers, if I'm not mistaken, back when she had like more stuff on Etsy. So that is gonna be probably a focus piece for me. I don't know, I just like really am feeling motivated to get it done and get it stitched. Hang on one second, there's a bug. Okay, crisis averted. So I have a little bit of a haul to share, and then I figured we could talk some market picks, and then I will share books. And that's it. So I've got quite a few books though, so if you are interested in books, I got some good recommendations for you this time around. So as far as haul is concerned, I just have my Color and Cotton fabric and thread of the month for the month of March. The fabric this month, I get 48 count linen, and the color is Renaissance. And it's this gorgeous like biscotti color almost. Not to be confused with the actual fabric biscotti from Color and Cotton, but it's really pretty. I am super pumped, and it's a great neutral. Then I get 3 skeins of the All Colors Club, which this month is Marigold, Water Lily, and Dutch Tulip, which would be so gorgeous together on a pattern. Are you kidding? And then I get 3 skeins of the Classic Collection, which is their cat toy was on my flosses, go away. Then I get 3 skeins of their Classic Collection, which is Permanent Collection colors, just to make sure like I can get all of the Permanent Collection. And it is Pearl White, Coffee Bean, and Abyss, which is Abyss is everything to me. It is like a bright teal. I'm obsessed. Also, these three would be pretty in a pattern together, just saying. So super happy with that. I picked up an art piece that I wanted to tell you guys about, just because it's also an excuse to tell you that I'm going to see Taylor Swift this month and I'm freaking out. So I have dubbed this month the month of Taylor because I started by going to see Taylor Tomlinson and I'm ending it seeing Taylor Swift. So there's this woman on TikTok that she's been designing this art piece, and it finally finished and she started selling prints and I had to pick one up. It is a fantasy map inspired by Taylor Swift songs. So every location on this map is inspired by a Taylor Swift song or a Taylor Swift lyric or a Taylor Swift life event. And it is super fun. She designed it herself on TikTok and I just had to have the print. I have not gotten a frame for it yet, but like highlights would include Centennial Park from, I think it's Invisible String or Illicit Affair, one of the two. You have Windermere Peaks from the lakes. You have a Christmas tree farm. The Big Ol' City from Mean. You have the Old Taylor Graveyard from Reputation. You have Holiday House from Folklore again. You have the Lover House. It's just so fun. And I know if there's any other Swifties out there, you'd be interested. So this is E. Kelly Design. And it's just such a fun print. You've got a labyrinth up here in upstate from the Labyrinth of Midnights. And anyway, it was just a fun thing that I wanted to tell you guys about because I was kind of geeking out over it. Okay, so let's start Market. So I have purchased a few designs from Market, and my rule for buying charts at Market was that I would only buy charts that I knew designers would not be selling PDFs of later. So if I knew I could get the design as a PDF, I held off. And if I loved the design and I knew it was only going to be available as a paper chart, I went ahead and grabbed it. So that was kind of my rule, to kind of limit myself at least a little bit. But also, Market being in my birthday month was not great for curbing spending, because I was just like, it's my birthday. It's my 25th birthday. I deserve some cool charts. So I got a few charts. So first one I picked up was Remember Me by Teresa Kogut. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous sampler, and I know you've probably already seen it, but the floral border killed me, and I just needed to have it. So grabbed that. Floral Etchings was next. This one is by Heart and Hand. I think this would be cute as 3 individual dough bowl pillows, or one dough bowl pillow, but I think it'd be really cute as a pillow with some chenille trim. And I also thought this one would be fairly easy to kit up out of my Color and Cotton thread stash. Seemed like a really easy stash busting project. I don't know why the cat's freaking out. Rip. Okay, so anyway, that's Heart and Hand Floral Etchings. Then I grabbed Introverted by Silver Creek Samplers. This is just too cute. And for me, I don't gravitate towards cutesy if the cutesy involves people or characters, but I will gravitate towards cutesy if it's words. And I thought this would be a really cute panel for a project bag. I bought 2 patterns that I thought would be pretty good as panels for project bags. And yes, so that was that one. The second pattern that I grabbed because I thought it would be a fun project bag is Immortal by Lucy Beam, and it says like buying cross stitch like I'm immortal, which I thought was hilarious. I want to do like a vampire kind of theme for that one with some like dark gray fabric and like burgundy and deep purple or something. Just because, you know, it's making jokes about being immortal, and then like pairing it with some like vampire or Halloween themed fabric for the project bag. I think that would be super cute, and that's kind of my plan with that one. Plus it's pretty small, so I thought it would be like a fun weekend start and finish. Then I grabbed In the Butterfly Garden by 1897 Schoolhouse Samplers, and I bought this piece because I actually saw this as a model at the Attic Needlework in Arizona, and I loved it. I actually went back and filled out their I forgot to get it while I was there because I'm dumb, but I actually went back and filled out their online purchase form to have it kitted up and sent to me, and I never heard back. So that was unfortunate, and I was really sad because it was an exclusive to them at that point, and I just like figured I'd never get to stitch it. But it is coming out this year at market, and I hopped on and grabbed it immediately. And the other benefit is that this one I think is actually kitted up in DMCs, which is super nice, super fun. The picture does not do it justice. I know you're just like, Brijin, it's an alphabet, but it's like teal and pink and purple and green, and it's so vibrant and beautiful. And there's something about the way that that font is that I just love. So I grabbed that. And then the final pattern that I actually picked up at market this year was Spring Moon by Plum Street Samplers. This one I got so that I could join in on the Best Bunnies SAL that's going on over on Instagram. It's being hosted by my friend Katie, the novel stitcher, and I was going to hop in on that, but I realized none of my whips and none of the patterns in my stash actually had bunnies on them, and I just was waiting for the perfect one because it is more of a start along, and I figured I could just hop in at any time, especially with it kind of spring coming up. And I first saw this chart on Julie of Kansas City Girl in a Colorado World's channel, and I loved it, but I didn't want to have to buy it from Fox and Rabbit in Australia, which was where it was exclusive to before now, and which is dumb because I definitely could have had it shipped here in that time. But anyway, it is now a market release, and I grabbed that. I will definitely be starting that pretty soon after it gets here, just because it's so freaking cool. And I have seen Julie stitching on it, and I loved it when she was working on it, and I just had to grab it. So I wanted to give a special shout out to 4 patterns that I did not purchase, but I will be purchasing when they are released as PDFs in like a month or so. But those are from Kathy Barrick and Liz Matthews. So let's start with the Kathy Barrick. I am planning on grabbing M.A. Reeve 1824, which I have nicknamed the Derpy Deer sampler, because look at that freaking derpy deer in the center. I think he's so cute. And actually my plan with this one is to actually take out the top alphabet and just stitch the main alphabet underneath with the deer and all the trees, and just kind of cut out the alphabet and bring in the top border. So that's my plan for that one. I think it is so fun. And there is another meaning that I won't share here that my group chat knows. But it is just too cute, and I love the blue colors, and supposedly there's an alternate colorway included in the chart as well, so I'm interested to see what that will be. But I just love it. I think it's so cute. Then from Liz Matthews, I will be grabbing the 8th Day of Christmas. I have all of the other charts in this series, and I am planning on restarting them. They're currently in my whip pile. I will be stitching all 12, including the borders, on a single piece of fabric, and I'm super excited. Then I actually, you know what, more on that. I was worried because I normally hate people on projects. Like, I will rechart people so I don't have to stitch them, because I don't know, something about like having people on my samplers, unless it's like done a specific way, I don't love it. It's a weird tick. It's just what it is. But I was really nervous for the Maids of Milking, because this is the first day of Christmas that wasn't a bird or rings, which the rings, don't even get me started, they're so good. But Liz did an incredible job, and she included some skin conversions for the girl. But it is definitely one of my favorite in the series so far, and I cannot wait to stitch it. So I'll be grabbing that. Then don't come for me on this one, because I know my group chat was not a big fan of this one, but I love it. This is Gifts for My Garden by Liz Matthews, and I know it looks like 1998, which is what my group chat said. But I love it, okay? I think it is really cute, and I think it'd be a really fun, easy finish. And it's flowers. It looks like a little brooch, but I'm also a historian and I love old shit. So I don't know. It's that kind of antique where it reminds me of my grandmother, and it just gives me good vibes. So I will definitely be picking that one up at some point to stitch. Plus my friend, who's now a stitcher, and she has massive cottagecore vibes, and she loved it, and I think we're gonna stitch it together. So that'll be fun. And then the final one that I will be planning on picking up from Liz Matthews is the Vanity Sampler. How could I not, right? Look at that verse, it's so cool. And I am also really excited for this one because my friend Cam the Stitcher, mentioned that she might look into doing a Gothic conversion for that piece, which, knowing Cam, it's gonna be Gothic, but it's also gonna be pink, because Cam does a lot of pink and I love pink. And so Cam, if you do gothic pink conversion for Vanity Sampler, I will stitch it like that, okay? I'm in. Like that. So that's it. That's everything I'm planning on buying from Market, both now. Everything that I mentioned that was a paper chart, I have already purchased. It's on its way from Top Knot Stitcher. If you haven't heard of the Top Knot Stitcher, go check her out. Her shop is linked in my description box. I always have links for every product, or most of the products that I talk about or use on a consistent basis in my description box. I know I get a lot of messages about where to find the floss drop bobbins. It's always in the description box of my video, so check there first. But I have Abby's shop linked there. She's fantastic, and she's already shipping, and it's only been like 4 days. She's so fast. So that's where I got all of my Market picks. And that is everything I have stitching for you today. So if that's all you came for, I'm so happy you stopped by. I hope you like and subscribe and leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought your top Market choice pick was. Let me know if you're gonna join in on my birthday sale. Let me know what you're gonna stitch, or you know, all of those things. You could go ahead and leave me the birthday cake emoji if you made it this far into the video, because I'm impressed. So I hope that you have a great time, and I'll see you next time. But if you're interested in books, stick around. I'm going to go drink some water and collect my thoughts on the books, and I will be right back. Okay, welcome back for book talk. I am super excited to share. I've got a few books, and your girl finally caught up on Goodreads. So I am reading 100 books this year, and Goodreads, if you set your challenge, it will tell you, you know, if you're 2 books behind, or you're 1 book behind, or you're 1 book ahead, or you're on track. And I have been behind for about 3 weeks now, and as of yesterday, I am officially caught up to my Goodreads goal. So super exciting news. I am super happy, and my bangs are having a fit. So we're just gonna deal. You guys are just gonna have to deal. I'm gonna have to deal. You guys are fine. But anyway, I caught up on my ACOTAR or Court of Thorns and Roses reread. I had finished the first book when I last talked to you, and I finished the second and the third. I still need to go back and read Silver Flames. I usually skip the novella Frost and Starlight when I do an ACOTAR reread, because it's like, I don't know, it's not my favorite. it's fine. But I do love Nesta, so I will go back and read Silver Flames when I get there. But I had other plans that I had to stop that for. So I'm a big fan of ACOTAR. I don't know what you want me to say. I just like it. I'm getting a tattoo in about 2 weeks, and it's gonna be on the back of my neck, and it's a sun and moon. And it's not for ACOTAR, but there's a little part of me that's like, oh, Night Court, you know what I mean? So it could be loosely interpreted as an ACOTAR tattoo, which is the kind of ACOTAR tattoo I want. Yeah. Because I mean, who's gonna like tattoo the entire Feyre hand? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Hi, Fergus. Okay, so we're gonna finish that reread. Next book that I read was The Song of the Forever Rains by E.J. Mello. This is the first book in their Musai series, and I love it. Actually, I don't love this book. So I like this series, but the first book is not the best one. I've only read 2 of the series before, so this first book was a reread for me. But it's because when I first read the series, the 3rd book had not come out yet in a trilogy. And so I wanted to go back and reread the first 2 books, since it's been over a year since I've read them, just to like refresh my memory before I read the 3rd one. And the other interesting thing about this series is that it is free as, it's part of Kindle Unlimited as an ebook and as an audiobook. So you get the audiobook for no additional cost with your Kindle Unlimited membership, which is not a lot of books that it has the audio included in that. And the audiobook is really good. The first book follows Larkira, who she is part of a trio of sisters who have magical powers. One is singing, one is dancing, and one is playing the violin. And together they kind of make up this deadly magical trio that works for this thief king. But by day they're kind of these ladies, and no one knows their secret identities. And so this first book follows Larkira, who is the youngest sister, and it's a romance, but it's also a bit of an adventure. It's fine. It's very vanilla, But the next book in the series, which is the one I'm currently reading, I've not finished it yet, is called Dance of the Burning Sea, and it's an enemies to lovers pirate romance following the second sister, Naya, and she's the one who can dance, and it's really, really good. So I gave the first one, I think, 3.5 stars, and I gave the second one 5 stars on my first read. So I'll be interested to see if that holds up on the second read. And then I'll actually be able to round out the trio and finish it with the eldest sister's book, Arabessa. So that will be super exciting. And I finished that first book. So I'll talk about the next book a little bit more once I've reread it and actually remember what happens, because I could not, for the life of me, remember this series. But it's free to read because I have a Kindle Unlimited. So then I read actually some graphic novels. I don't normally read graphic novels, but this one had Greek mythology, and that was enough to pull me in. Also, my friend Hannah was reading this, and she was like, you have to read this, and I was like, say less. So I read the first 2 books in the Lore Olympus series. This started out as a webtoon and was turned into a graphic novel, and I am actually reading the rest of the series as a webtoon, but since it's been published as a book, I'm gonna count it on my Goodreads total. So it follows Hades and Persephone, and then all of the other major Greek gods and myths are also wrapped into that story. And so it's kind of set where the mortal realm is in the way back past, like ancient Greece, and Olympus is in modern times, but it's happening concurrently. So like Olympus is just that much advanced over society. And it's really, really good so far. Like I said, I've read the first 2 books. It took me a hot minute to get used to the graphic novel style. It's not normally how I'm used to interpreting media. And it's weird to not have like the gaps filled in with words, you know, like you have to use the pictures to kind of guide your interpretation and whatever. And that's a little hard to get used to for someone who's used to being in her characters' heads and hearing their internal monologues and things like that. But it was good, and I am invested. But there are some trigger warnings, heavy trigger warnings, you should go check out before you start reading it, just as a heads up. And then I read 2 more books. I read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was a reread for me. I read Daisy Jones last summer, but with the TV series coming out, I wanted to refresh my memory, and I read it in like a day. It's like a 9-hour audiobook. It's so fast. And what's really cool about the audiobook for this one is it is read by a full cast, so you get a different voice for every character, and since the book is interview style, it's fantastic. So I love the series so far. I think they're doing a great job with the adaptation, but it's Reese Witherspoon, and she, you know, her company does a really, really good job with book adaptations in general. So I had high expectations. I love it. I am really into the music so far. I am not listening to the songs until they're released in the show, because sometimes like Regret Me, I want the impact of Regret Me to be fueled by the events that fuel that song. You know what I mean? So I don't want to hear it without having seen the scene where Regret Me happens. So forgot how much I loved this book. Big fan of this book. And the interview style and the revelations that happen throughout it, and just the way that the characters are written, you're in their heads, and there's a romance subplot, but it's really about the band. So it's about the creation and implosion of said band. And I know I've talked about this book on my channel before, but I just wanted to do the reread for the series and whatever. This is also, I'm doing the Taylor Swift reading challenge, which you can find in the highlights of my Instagram. I will pop a picture of what that looks like here. But basically, for every Taylor Swift song, there is a category. Not every Taylor Swift song. I saw the challenge online, and then I added some books and categories of my own with my friend Hannah. And so we're doing about 30 books, and this one fills the if this was a movie. I always want to call it by the Hannah Montana song, If We Were a Movie, but it is a Speak Now song, and the category was a book being adapted into a television show, and this was my pick for that. So if you're interested in seeing what I've read for that challenge, or seeing the categories for yourself, I will have that on my Instagram, which is linked in the description box. And then I read one more book. This is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. It's a very popular book. I'd be really surprised if you hadn't heard of it by now, but I heard, what really sold me on starting this was I heard Katie the Novel Stitcher's review of it, and I was like, you know what, I need to read it. So I got on the wait list for my library and it finally dropped and I was able to read it. So this follows Elizabeth Zott, who is a female chemist in the 1960s, and it is her life story trying to just be taken seriously in an extremely male-dominated field in the 60s. So it's very Mad Men, but somehow she finds herself the host of there was no internet in the 60s, Brijin. She finds herself the host of a television cooking show where she actually like uses chemistry to teach women how to cook and how to research and like learn to think for themselves. And it's very Julia Child meets Mad Men meets feminist rage and the Big Bang Theory. I don't know. So you get all of these like scientific terms, and the book is rooted in science, but you're also getting her journey of just constantly not being taken seriously. But then there's also this subplot of her boyfriend's life story, and it's a wild book. I ate this up. I read it so quickly. And I did learn that it's actually going to be adapted into a television series with Brie Larson, which she exactly fits how I imagined Elizabeth. There are, again, I was not aware, but there are some events that take place that require trigger warnings, so check those before you start. I thought it was a fantastic book. There is a dog in the book that just melts your heart, and you actually get a lot of the book from the perspective of the dog, which you would think is really dumb, but I had to Google if, and this is a spoiler, but it won't hurt you, if the dog died, because I was gonna die if the dog died, because I can't handle that. But it didn't. And it's just a really, really good book. And I think it's her debut novel, and I am shocked. She did a fantastic job. And I highly recommend that you go read that. So thanks, Katie, for the rec. I greatly enjoyed it, and it is overhyped for a reason. But it will make you angry if you are a woman who has ever experienced anything relating to being a woman. Rage. But it's fantastic. So those were all the books that I read, and a little bit about my bookish plans to finish out the Musai series and Silver Flames and probably some other stuff. I don't know. I'm trying to stay on track here. With 100 books, that's a hard ask. So that's officially everything that I have to share with you. I will be back after my birthday with my birthday start and some more progress on some whips. Hopefully some more progress in general, because I'll actually have some weekend stitching time. So again, if you need anything, description box, or you can email me at themuseumstitcher@gmail.com or find me on Instagram there. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope that you have a fantastic start of spring and daylight savings if your state does that or your country does that. And yeah, I will catch you guys on my next one. So from me and from Fergus, wave hello, Fergus, who's recovering nicely, by the way. I know. You are in a playful mood. Anyway, from the two of us, bye.